Hour 2, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Renaissance Homes and Pools. About half that work week now in the rearview mirror, officially working towards the weekend. We appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Lots to do here in our second hour. It's a fast-moving first hour. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Had Carius Kern. Sounds like a breakout player. At least Ori Williams thinks so. We played that for you in the first segment. Sonny Ship talking Lamar Brown. You want to catch that on demand. If you want to hear about his thoughts on Lamar Brown and what he's going to do tomorrow, go ahead and find that on demand at Hunt on LSU, wherever you find your sound. Or on YouTube, it was What If Wednesday as well. And we talked about the Saints' new helmet. So now we'll switch over and talk a little bit about baseball here because the decision has been made. Reporting by Jesse Rogers of ESPN, Major League Baseball in the All-Star game coming up in Atlanta is going to use the ABS system. If you're going, what's the ABS system? Talking about automatic balls and strikes system. This is something that they did in the spring training games, and it is something that we've seen in the minor leagues, and it's something that a lot of people think we're going to see in the big leagues next year. So what is the automatic balls and strikes? Is this robot umps? We're taking the umps out? No, we're not taking the umps out. In fact, the umps are going to be very much involved. But each team, over the course of a 9-inning game, gets 2 challenges of the strike zone. And you don't get any input from the dugout. So I think there's a reasonable faction of you that watch Major League Baseball games. There's certainly a reasonable faction of you that does not watch any Major League Baseball games. If you want to know how the challenge system works right now, like if you watch LSU play baseball, if there's a play at the plate or it's late in the game, Jay Johnson just throws the headset sign on and they just go do it. And Jay Johnson's just really aggressive with the time of the game as opposed to how bad he thinks the call is. Like he's going to challenge run scoring plays. He's not going to challenge things that happen in the 3rd inning at second base. So that's the way that he's generally operated. But in Major League Baseball, here's how the challenge works, okay? The guy hits a ground ball to the hole at short, shortstop picks it, fires it across, bang, bang, play, umpire says safe. So the team that's in the field, that manager looks at the television screen and waits for his guy to say, yeah, challenge it or don't. And he gives the whole field the hold on sign, and he waits for them to look at the replay twice, and then he says either challenge it or don't. And it takes a while. Like it's not a great process. This is not that. This is not a manager looking at balls and strikes from the dugout and looking at the StatCast or looking at the Hawkeye or the pitch, whatever you want to call it, and then arguing every time there's one that he thinks is incorrect. Hey, look at it. You only get 2, and it can only come from the pitcher or the hitter or the catcher. That's it. And it has to be pretty instant. So the hitter cannot take a pitch, it's called a strike, look into the dugout, see if they think it was a strike based on the replay, and then challenge it after he steps out. You've got to watch the pitch go by. It's called a ball or a strike. If you don't like it, tap your helmet. You got to review it. And you get 2 a game. So to me, this is good. We have the technology to determine where these pitches are. It's like we have the technology to figure out where a tennis shot landed. We have the technology to figure out a lot of different things in sports. And one of them is balls and strikes. So I'm not saying that we need to take umpires completely out of the game. What I'm saying is if there's an egregious pitch in a big count at a big spot with a big guy at the plate and you're changing a 1-2 count to a 2-1 count, which is a monstrous swing, and you want to just tap it, okay, I'm good with that. This is going to happen 4 or 5 times per game. There are 300 pitches in a game. We're talking about 4 or 5. I think this is good. I think it can only be positive. If you think it's opening Pandora's box, like I can't prove you wrong. But if we keep this thing on the rails, I think we're in good shape. And trust me, for those that watch college baseball that are listening to me, that go, these guys miss half the pitches. We'll be out of challenges in the 3rd inning. The big league guys are better. They've got more technology. They're graded more harshly. There are fewer of them. They're better. they usually do a pretty good job. I was actually noticing yesterday, before this story broke, there were some pitches late in the game between the Cubs and Twins last night that were really borderline that the umpire did a really good job on. There was a changeup he saw that really just dipped under the zone. It was an excellent pitch. It was an excellent take, and the umpire got it right. They're better than the college guys, but it's still really hard to do because everybody in the big leagues now throws 97 plus, and the breaking stuff is as sharp as it's ever been, and it's just a very difficult job to do. And I think if we can get a little help, it's a positive. It's certainly been a positive for tennis. If you watch Wimbledon and you watch them hit the serve and then they challenge it and they go to the Hawkeye and everybody looks at the Jumbotron and they show the trajectory of the ball and they show where it landed, case closed. And then we move on. Like, it's quick, it's efficient, it goes. And this is going to be quick, it's going to be efficient, and it's going to go. If you give every team 10 challenges, we may be doing this a while. But we have the technology for a batter to sit in there and a catcher to sit behind the plate, and whichever one challenges it, instantly the umpire can go do it. They've got the Hawkeye technology. They can buzz them or give them a green light, red light, or whatever. I don't know what the technology is that's going to relay the information, but all of that can be done within 4 or 5 seconds, in my opinion. I don't know how, but if I can watch it on TV and they can immediately go to where the ball ended, they can do it for the umpires too. You have somebody in charge of every game. There's only 15 games, 16 games going on at once. Like, we can get this done quickly. And I think it is a good thing. I'm a traditionalist in baseball senses, but there are some things we're doing here that are just fine. I'm okay with the college baseball game putting the extra first base out there. Now, it can cause some issues, which it did in an LSU game where a guy slid past the bag and then came back and touched the wrong bag. If you get a wild pitch on a third strike and you got to throw down to first, they've got to switch bases. And there are some things that traditionally have to be done a little bit differently, and that's pushing it. But I'm okay with this. I think that putting a runner on second base to start extra innings is a little bit hokey, but I'm okay with the pitcher having to face 3 hitters. I don't think that's a rule that favors any team. I think that's a rule that just tries to keep pitchers in the game a little bit longer so we don't have 4 pitching changes in the 8th inning. So I'm a traditionalist, but I'm okay with doing some things a little bit differently. I got over the DH being switched, taken out of the game, or I guess put into the game on the National League side. Pitchers can't hit these guys anymore, so it is what it is. But this one is not, to me, is not different to a material level of how the game is played, like putting a runner on second base is. So to me, this is a positive. I'm for it. People are going, why are you doing it in games that don't count? Do it in the games that count. Well, it's reasonable to test it out under circumstances that aren't as significant. They don't have as many consequences. So you're doing that in spring training. You're doing it some in the minor leagues, certainly in the All-Star game. And I think this will show America, in my opinion, that this is not a big deal. And then there's now a little bit of strategy from the guys. Like, if you're the 8-hole hitter who's out there because you're a great defensive center fielder and it's the 3rd inning, like, I'm not letting you challenge. Like, you're going up there with explicit, like, unless the bases are loaded, like, I don't want you challenging because you're not a great hitter. But if I've got my 2-hole hitter up there and the count's 1-1 with 2 guys on in a 1-run game, and he feels like that ball is outside, well, we got to tap there. Like, there's some strategy that the players have to be aware of when they use those challenges based on what the situation of the game is and who is at the plate and who's on the mound. So to me, I like that part of it. I like the fact that we're going to get things right. I think this is a positive for the game of baseball. If you have technology, you can use it. And they've got it. I think they can use it. So I'm pro automated balls and strike system. We'll see how that works in the All-Star game coming up on Tuesday. But I think it's a good idea. Beck, what are your thoughts on going ahead and putting automatic balls and strikes into Major League Baseball?
Yes. I don't know. Well, I mean, I know why. I think everybody knows why. This has been the last sport that could easily adopt this and should have a long time ago, but haven't, because baseball is just one of those sports that has been really slow to innovating and developing new ways of monitor or of refereeing the sport, if you will. And it just makes sense. It's easy. Like, it's not like there's going to be too many problems with this. You get something to call balls and strikes. You still have an umpire back there to make safe and out calls. and we move on with our lives, and we don't have to worry about umpires affecting games ever again. So I don't understand why anybody would be opposed to this. It's just
the human element.
Yeah,
robots are taking over.
Who cares about the human element? Okay, they don't care about the human element in tennis anymore. They don't care about it in other sports that use this technology. So I mean, that's fine. I mean, I know of course the umpires union in the MLB is very powerful, and they're going to be I'm sure they're going to not be very happy about this. So we'll see what comes of that. But it's just way too far along that we haven't had this yet, and hopefully we have it sooner rather than later.
We'll have it at the All-Star game, and they think we will have it next year in the major leagues. So, all right, let's keep chugging along here. LSU hopes to get a commitment from Lamar Brown tomorrow. There's another decision coming down tomorrow. I'll tell you who it is and what LSU's chances are next. Still can't go to break, can we?
Well, we could. So we got it figured out last hour, but I don't know. Something must have changed once we got to hour 2 here, and we're on have it again. So
we apologize. Some technical difficulties going on over there, and as Jacob and Cassie well know, I don't know anything that goes on over there. So when they point at me and tell me to keep talking, yep. I can do that. I have the ability to keep talking, and it gives me an opportunity to tell you about Renaissance Homes and Pools. If you're trying to get into the pool of your dreams, summertime is hot around here, as you well know. He can do a pool for any reason, any stage of life. Whether you've got young kids and they want to play in the pool, can make that happen. If you've got grandkids that want to play in the pool, can make that happen. If you're at an age where you just like to have a smaller pool that's great to hang out in, cool off, have a couple of cold drinks, he can make that happen as well. If you want to pair it with an outdoor kitchen, Joey Blanchard and his team at Renaissance Homes and Pools can help you out with all of that. So if you don't know where to start, you start at builtbyrenaissance.com. Process is seamless. It's easy, and Joey's there every step of the way. You sit down with him, look through his software, put your pool together in a 3D software package that is built to order. It's going to be exactly to your specifications, and you'll be able to see it right there. Built to scale. It's Renaissance Homes and Pools. Find them at builtbyrenaissance.com. Builtbyrenaissance.com. So still plenty to do here for the next 45 minutes. Again, to reset, we're going to do an LSU recruiting segment. In the next segment is talking about a player they could get in addition to Lamar Brown tomorrow. And Joey McGuire had something interesting to say at Big 12 Media Days yesterday about a potential home with LSU. And I also want to set the scene for tomorrow because it's going to be a big show tomorrow. We'll talk about Lamar Brown. We'll talk about a potential second commitment. And I'm going to go through LSU's entire signing class of baseball tomorrow and talk about where I see them as an MLB draft picks and whether or not LSU can keep those players in the signing class and on campus moving forward. As we discussed yesterday, it's an incredibly volatile signing class. It's got a lot of guys who are in that range where there are bigger signing bonuses available, but maybe you want to take that money or maybe you want to come to LSU and create more value for yourself. There are a lot of guys in that spot in this class, 13 of them I counted yesterday. I've had enough conversations now, I think, over the last 72 hours where I feel like I've got a reasonable handle on where things stand. We know the draft is incredibly fickle. We know that it only takes one team to do one thing that throws things completely out of where we thought they were a day ago. So I don't prescribe to tell you that, hey, all these are right. These 5 guys are coming. These 3 are not coming. These 6, I won't be right to the T. But I can give you a reasonable look at where things stand today. And we'll do that on tomorrow's show. So lots and lots to do on tomorrow's show. I think we got a chance to go to break now, so we'll give that a shot. And then we'll talk recruiting next. How did we do?
We didn't do okay. I think we've got the hotkeys back. Let's see. Let me just test it real quick. Let's see.
That's what the folks love to hear.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Work, but the stack, which plays our commercials, currently nothing coming through.
No
on that
commercials,
one, so.
huh? Well,
so you're just gonna have to go for 45 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of the stack either. But it's a bummer that we've got these technical issues. We appreciate y'all for hanging with us. I think there were a couple on the morning show as well. But Bo will get all over that, and they'll get that all squared away as we know. I'm tempted to get into some recruiting, but I'm not going to do that immediately. Let's just bring this up back because I think this was a funny story to bring up. Did you see Livy Dunn's dilemma?
Oh, the Babe Ruth apartment?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's up with that?
So Livy Dunn went on TikTok and claimed that she agreed in principle to purchase Babe Ruth's old apartment in New York City. I don't know where that is, how expensive it is, how exclusive it is. I don't know anything about the apartment. I would imagine that apartments from the 20s, 30s, 40s, whenever it was, need to be updated significantly for someone to live in them or to own them and feel good about that purchase. So I feel like that's probably true. But the problem is that she agreed to purchase the apartment, I guess a condo in this sense, and she was a week out from picking up the keys, and the board at the condo blackballed her. You can't buy. You're out.
Yeah. What did they give any explanation?
Maybe they don't want paparazzi there. Maybe they don't want a public figure living in that condo complex. And Livy was a bit bummed about that. So what are your thoughts on the folks in the NYC condo just throwing the black? I mean, famous people live in New York. It's a real thing. You got to maybe grow a backbone, I think.
Yeah, that's well, to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense because if they didn't want her in the first place because of that, then why would they even let it get this far? Like, why?
Maybe they don't know about it until she agrees to the purchase, and then it's brought to the board. It's like, well, she just agreed to purchase, like, to
maybe so.
It's like, I don't think so.
If that's the case, then they need to adjust the way that they do this process, so that way the board knows who is actually trying to buy it, and they can say, oh, we actually don't want somebody like to have that level to buy it.
Well, I think this is how the kind of process goes. But like, are you going to blackball Livy? What if she wants to move in next door to you? Are you okay with paparazzi at the Beck household as the new child comes in?
It's next door, so I mean, it's not like, I mean, if they're trying to like block my driveway, then I'm just probably going to call the police and tell them to move because I don't need people blocking my driveway so I can leave. But I mean, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal.
And I also think the NYC paparazzi have got better folks to follow around than Livy. Like, she is a national brand. Yeah. But like, we're not talking.
It's not. Yeah.
It's not Taylor Swift.
No. This is I mean, it's a little bit different level, at least right now. Anyways, I don't know. She could, of course, keep gaining more fame, but she's already definitely out there. But yeah, that's a weird situation, and you would think too that like they know, okay, if we tell her no, then she's obviously got a very big following, and she's going to make posts about this, and that's not going to be very good reputation for them. The question
is if she and Paul are going to live there potentially. We're talking about a different city.
I mean, it would
Does that become Babe Ruth's apartment or Paul Skeen's apartment?
Well, I was going to say, I mean, it makes perfect sense because he's going to end up playing for the Yankees in a few years anyway. So, I mean,
the dream is dead. I'm hoping he's going to play for the Cubs.
Well, that would be nice. But of course, as I mentioned in the what if, that there's definitely no chance of that because they're never going to match.
The Yankees are the broke team in town now.
Oh, really? The Mets. I mean, the Mets.
Cohen's got more money than the Steinbrenner family. A lot more money.
Yeah, that's true. So it could be the Mets or the Yankees. Either way, it's going to be probably somewhere in New York.
I'm sure that segment would go over well on WFAN if I jumped in and said the Yankees are the poor folks in town now.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'd really appreciate that.
That would be really nice.
The Mets are on some hard times at the moment. And speaking of rich teams, the Dodgers are really irritating me. They're supposed to be the greatest team that anyone's ever seen.
They're losing games.
And they go to the Brewers and they can't win a game. They're just getting their doors blown off. I turned it on.
You can't even score
2 nights ago.
Run. You score one run on the Brewers.
I turned it on 2 nights ago. It was 9-0. Well, that's a nice effort by the Dodgers, the greatest team anyone's ever seen. And meanwhile, we had to go play the Dodgers in Japan, which was a terrible start to my
The Dodgers have scored 2 runs in 2 games against the Brewers. This is
with Mizorowski out there.
Yeah. That's gonna be a problem.
Residential pickup.
All right. Oh, wait. Okay. Our commercial just played there for a second. Okay. There it is.
Can we keep it going?
And well, it's spotty a little bit, seems.
I don't even know what that means. We're at the end of the
spot now. The audio was coming in and out there on the spots. Let's see if the stab plays.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
This is quality radio.
Yeah, it is. All right. Well, it's worked now. So I think we can go to a break. However, unfortunately, like last time, we went through that entire break and didn't hear it, so we're already through the next one. So we got like 4 more minutes, and then we can go to the next break.
Okay, So we have 2 more breaks to play, or 1 more break.
No. We can go to 28 right now, and then we can go to a break.
Okay, well that's easy to do. Okay, so let's talk about a new commitment that I don't think anyone's talking about. Potential commitment because everyone is talking about Lamar Brown. Everybody's on Lamar Brown, number 1 player in the country. Offensive line, defensive line, U-High, A&M, Texas, NIL. What the whole story is surrounding Lamar Brown at this point. And it's like, okay, I get it, but there is more potentially in the pipeline for LSU. And tomorrow there's going to be an announcement from DeAnthony Lafayette. He's from Orlando, Lake Nona High School. And last year as a junior, 17 and a half sacks, 40 quarterback hurries during his junior season. He kind of set the statistics on fire there and drew a ton of interest from a lot of schools around the country. And tomorrow he's going to decide between LSU, Miami, and Oklahoma. And to me, when you see a finalist list like that, it's like, okay, that's a guy that can make some waves. And he doesn't have elite level measurables at this point. But I trust Kevin Peoples to evaluate and to develop. And so you're talking about a 6-foot edge rusher that's 230 pounds. Usually these guys are, 6'4", 215, 6'4", 220, and they grow to 6'5", 235. He's 6 feet tall, so not the longest and leanest of edge rushers, but uber productive, and the folks that analyze that type of thing think he can be a really disruptive player on the edge. He's a 3-star recruit from On3, 24/7, and Rivals at this point, but he's a top 40 player in the state of Florida, which is a very, very talent-rich state. And generally speaking, not everybody, but generally speaking, when you play in the state of Florida, you play against really good competition. You would put Florida high school football up there with Louisiana, with Texas, with Georgia, with Ohio, with California. Like Florida is seen that way. So I was a little bit surprised when I learned of DeAnthony Lafayette and looked at his profile and saw that he was an edge rusher and then saw that he was 6 feet tall. But again, if Kevin Peoples sees it, like, I'm all for that every single day. And so you're looking at an edge rusher class that right now includes Trenton Henderson. And then you look at what Lamar Brown and Richard Anderson bring in terms of athleticism on the potentially interior, potentially on the edge. Those two guys are kind of like unicorns at this point. You're really starting to stockpile elite level high school talent on the defensive front, and especially guys that are their bread and butter is disrupting the passer and getting back to the quarterback and creating sacks, creating negative plays. And LSU's got to do that. Like, you cannot win at a championship level if you don't get back there and pressure the QB. And I think LSU struggled to do that 2 years ago for sure. And they got better last year under Kevin Peoples with Braden Swinson, with Savion Jones. This year, you bring Harold Perkins back into that mix, and you went heavy in the transfer portal. And I love getting Patrick Payton, and I love getting Jack Pyburn and Jamari Butler. Like, that's all great, but you got to do some work in the high school ranks to have some guys next up to fill into those spots. And so Trenton Henderson is a 5-star. Richard Anderson is a 5-star. Lamar Brown is a 5-star. And then you look up, and maybe you can add DeAnthony Lafayette as a guy that profiles very much towards the edge of a defense. So that's just one that I feel like is being overlooked by a lot of LSU fans because of Lamar Brown. And it may be a situation where you look up and tomorrow at this time, as opposed to not just having one edge rusher in Trenton Henderson, you've now got 3. And that doesn't even count Richard Anderson because he mainly plays on the inside. So it could be a quick, big couple of hits for LSU on the defensive front. And look, that's a spot to me where you have lacked the game changers necessary to be a championship level team. Like, you've had some good players, but you need game changers. Like, go turn on the film against South Carolina and Ole Miss for LSU last year. In the second half of those games, you will see a pass rush that is absolutely hellacious, that gets home to quarterbacks, that makes drives impossible, that creates third and long, that creates turnovers, and that ultimately in those two spots created wins. Like, yeah, you got to throw it around. Yeah, you got to run the ball. I've talked about LSU needing to cover better. You got to be good at everything to win championships. But one of the most important things there is to do is to win the line of scrimmage. And LSU is trying with now its 7th defensive line coach in 6 years, right? To find some stability with Kyle Williams, with Kevin Peoples, to come in and stabilize the defensive front and develop elite level talent. And I trust those guys to see that, to recruit that, to develop that, and see it through statistically and then into the NFL draft. Like, that's what I see. So nobody in Tiger Country is going to be talking about DeAnthony Lafayette at noon tomorrow. They're all going to be fixed on Lamar Brown, and we're certainly going to talk about Lamar Brown on tomorrow's show. But Lafayette is a guy that a lot of folks believe is headed to LSU, and if Miami and Oklahoma are interested, those are two schools that have recruited at a high level, and at Oklahoma, run by a defensive coach who knows what he's looking at on the defensive side of the ball. I like Anthony Lafayette. I think that's got a chance to be a really nice skit for LSU over two of the more storied programs in college football. So we'll be tuned. If you're looking for my LSU coverage, you can always find it at Hunt on LSU. That's Hunt on LSU. You can find that at YouTube, wherever you find your sound, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google, wherever you find it, just search Hunt Palmer Show or Hunt on LSU. Like, subscribe, rate, and review. If you like our Saints content, Hunt on Saints. You can subscribe to that as well. We were talking, the Saints are 2 weeks away from reporting. 2 weeks away. That's awesome. And then you got LSU just a week and a half behind that. So fired up for football to be creeping in, and we'll certainly be covering it all from SEC Media Days coming up next week. Step aside, come back with more. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Winding our way through this Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. If you're in Baton Rouge, hope you're staying remotely dry out there, staying safe on the roads. Had some rain late morning, early afternoon here in the capital city. Hopefully that's out of here this afternoon. So the Myers man can play some baseball and ride bikes. That's what we're hoping for here. Got to get the energy out.
Yeah, we don't need Space Jam anymore.
I mean, it's going to happen. He's already watched it once today, all the way through. So it's going to happen again.
You're going to know every word of that movie by the end of this.
Pretty much know them all. It's not very long, and it's not very sophisticated. So I pretty much got them all licked there. The Big 12 had its media days yesterday, today, and they had a coach's roundtable, which is not something they do at SEC media days. Just too much chaos there to get that done. But they did it at Big 12 media days, and I don't even know what the question was that got Joey McGuire to talking about.
It was out of conference,
right? I don't know. I know what he started talking about. I don't know what the question was directed toward. But he talked about one of the things Brian Kelly said at SEC spring meetings, which was talking about he'd love to play a Big Ten team every year with an SEC Big Ten Challenge, that type of thing. And Joey McGuire tossed his hat in the ring and said what he'd like over at Texas Tech.
I know you said it a couple years ago, to where we all of a sudden now have cross-conference games that we're playing each other. I think that'd be a great way to do it. You know, I saw Brian Kelly say he'd love to play a Big 10 team. Hey, man, I would love to play LSU, you know, home-and-home series, and whoever plays that, then, you know, we look at the rankings and everything like that.
So he's just essentially, I don't have any malicious intent toward this segment at all. I don't care about Texas Tech. I don't think Joey McGuire was stepping out of bounds at all. I don't think he was puffing his chest at all. I think he was suggesting, hey, we're here at Texas Tech. I think a lot of people don't think the Big 12 is worthy of 2 playoff spots. And so I'll throw my hat in the ring. I'd love to play LSU. Well, I'm sure Texas Tech would love LSU to come to Lubbock. Like I don't have any doubt that he would love to have Alabama come to Lubbock, to have Florida come to Lubbock. I have no doubt about that. Also, the SEC is in a right now contractually obligated to play a out-of-conference Power 4 team. There's only 4 conferences. There's 3 conferences to choose from. You got to play somebody from the Big 12, ACC, or Big 10 every year. But it's just, to me, like the whole thing around the Big 12, you can kind of see what they're doing. And I don't blame them for doing it, but it's pretty obvious. Like Brent Yormark is their commissioner. And if you missed this week, the Big 12 is not releasing a preseason poll this year. Not because they think they're worthless, not because they think it's a waste of time. They're not doing it because they feel like last year when Arizona State was picked last in the conference, that result in July painted them in a negative light by the committee, who was reluctant then to move them up in the seeding. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but you understand the position from which that conference is occupying to do something like that. The SEC just doesn't care. Because if Kentucky gets picked 16th next week and they go 7-1 in the league and beat Louisville, they're going to the playoff. If Vanderbilt goes 8-0 in the SEC after getting picked dead last, they're going to the playoff. Even if they lose the conference championship game, they're in the playoff. We saw it. So the Big 12 feels like their only guaranteed lot is their conference champ, and everybody else is going to be dismissed. So they're now doing everything they can from their perspective to try to prop their schools up. If that means we're scrapping the preseason poll, fine. If that means we need to beg and plead for the big bad Big Ten and big bad SEC to come play Kansas State and Texas Tech and Baylor, well, they'll do that. And that's the position from which they operate. And this was always going to happen when Texas and Oklahoma left. Because candidly, and I don't even care who disagrees, I don't think you have a leg to stand on. That league was Texas and Oklahoma. And when Texas and Oklahoma left, you became a less than conference. You became, in my eyes, not too different from the MAC, not too different from some of those other leagues. That's not to say that there isn't a football team in that league in a given year that's good. Like they're going to have some quality teams here and there. But the quality of the conference overall, from top to bottom and certainly in the middle, is poor, relatively speaking, to the SEC and the Big Ten. And there's not a single program in that conference that right now has the ability to stand up year after year, not for 40 minutes, not for 60 minutes, for 4 hours, for a year, to stand up to Alabama, to stand up to LSU, to stand up to Ohio State, stand up to Michigan, to stand up to Florida or Penn State or Tennessee. They just don't. And to me, no amount of PR is going to change that. And that's all we're talking about here. And again, I'm being very, very open here. I'm not being malicious towards Joey McGuire. He's the head coach at Texas Tech. His job is to promote Texas Tech, to recruit to Texas Tech, to coach Texas Tech, and to win at Texas Tech. So why should he diminish that league or that program? We all know what Texas Tech is. There's a reason they haven't won 10 games in 10 years. It's actually been since, I believe, 2008. But it's his agenda. And Brent Yormark has an agenda. He's got a league that was crippled. We all know it was crippled. You know it was crippled. He knows it was crippled. He's not going to say it was crippled. He's got a job to do to make sure it looks as functional as possible, but it's crippled. Because TCU and Baylor and Kansas State and Arizona State can't prop up a league that matches Texas, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, LSU, and Tennessee. It just can't. And they can't match Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State either. So I think there are some LSU fans who are like, oh, Joey McGuire, we're not playing Texas Tech. Like, shut up. And that's not why I'm here. I think it's great that Joey McGuire wants to play LSU. And LSU may call Joey McGuire over the course of the next 10 years because they have to play somebody in a quote-unquote power conference. And trust me, I'd much rather go to Lubbock than Clemson. You know that. Much rather. But that has nothing to do with what Joey McGuire's talking about. And there's probably a little bit of bravado there where it's like, hey, we can compete with anybody. We'll play anybody, anytime, any place. But really, more so, it's PR. It's the Big 12 who's getting media days as a whole started, who's trying to steal some headlines, who's trying to make everybody believe there's something that we all know they're very much not. So Joey McGuire can keep talking, and he's doing a nice job there. They've won 8 or 9 games the last 2 years, and that's fine. And if he wants LSU to come to Lubbock, that's all well and good. I don't think it's going to happen imminently because LSU is showing right now they have an appetite for scheduling the elite of the elite, and Texas Tech didn't qualify. Now, neither does SMU, and LSU put that on the schedule, moving forward. So maybe Joey's got something coming his way. And maybe there are SEC teams that are willing to go out there and play. But to me, I look at that, and it's like we open the show, where a lot of press conferences and things that we're going to hear in SEC Media Days and next week is just a lot of yapping and not a lot of substance. And that is yapping with not a lot of substance, but it is going to draw some headlines. One, because of he called out a coach in school directly, and two, because we're in early July where there's just not a lot going on the news cycle. But I'm not mad at Joey McGuire. I think he's doing his job. I just think that's what he's doing, as opposed to saying, hey, we can take anybody. They can point to Arizona State last year, and I know my guy Jay Kester would do that in 2 seconds. Look, see, it's a really good team. I don't know if they are. We'll see. They'll be picked towards the top this year by those outside Big 12 media days where they don't have a preseason favorite, because they don't want them to be held accountable when it comes to playoff time and they don't win the conference. Just a lot of semantics, a lot of politics, and that's what this time of year is for. It's talking season, baby. We'll be doing a ton of that coming up from Atlanta next week. We've got one more segment to go. We will step aside, come back, and close out this Wednesday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com is the website. Every single car on the line, from the entry level to the highest end, from the sedan to the SUV, every single vehicle is an IIHA top safety pick. Some of them are top safety picks plus. When you're going to buy a vehicle, you know that safety is going to come up. For some, it's number one line item. For some, it's 2 or 3, but it's right there. It's important. Genesis takes that seriously. And that's why they've been honored in the way they have for the safety of their vehicles. You'll know immediately when you get behind the wheel how comfortable and stylish and how advanced technologically a Genesis is. What you can't know by just sitting in it is how safe it is. That's what they test them for, and that's what I'm telling you. It's one of the safest cars on the road. So go by and see them. Airline at Pico, across from Women's Hospital. Check them out online, genesisofbatonrouge.com. That's genesisofbatonrouge.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Parrish Construction and Roofing brings you live coverage of the 2025 SEC Football Media Days. Join our team next Monday, July 14th through Thursday, July 17th, as we take you inside college football's premier conference by hearing from the biggest names and newsmakers in the sport. The 2025 SEC Football Media Days is also presented locally by Rev and Relief Windows. Watch our coverage on the 104.5 ESPN YouTube channel and read about it at louisianasports.net, where, of course, I'm sure Hunt Palmer will be writing articles for that. It's the 2025 SEC Football Media Days powered by Parrish Construction and Roofing.
I will be writing articles from there. I'm thinking about how to approach it because I haven't been in a long time. Obviously, Monday will be easy. It'll be very busy, but easy because LSU's there, and I'll have lots of storylines to cover there. The rest of the time, it's just interesting. Like, do I write LSU opponents? I think I'm going to do, because I'm going to be walking around a lot, be in different rooms, talking to a lot of different people. I think I'm going to do a daily recap. It's just kind of like a blog post. It's just like the buzz from Media Days, because I think part of the interesting component to Media Days is the analysts and radio hosts and journalists and beat writers talking. Not that they know more than the players or the coaches. They don't. But they have stronger opinions and are willing to talk about it. And I've talked about the coach speak at these events all week, and I don't back down from that at all. So I'm curious to kind of get a pulse on how people are feeling about various teams in and around the hotel. Yeah. I also know that when I was there, it was at the in Hoover at that. I can't even remember the name of it now. That's sad. It's I can't think of the name of the hotel. They had Media Days in it every year. It'll come to me in this segment, but everybody was there. Like, it was just, it was constant in the hotel bar, in the restaurant at the end. They had a Shula's there. Like, it was just, you were always around people that were willing to talk, and the conversations got looser as the night went on with the beers flowing. I know that in the hotel we're staying at, there is a sports bar. I think we're close to where things are. Like, we'll see how that kind of ramps up, but I'll do a daily recap, I think, of just kind of the buzz from Media Days is an idea that I have currently.
Yeah, that sounds like it'll be pretty good.
we shall see. Let's play some Take It or Leave It.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Presented to you by Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer, crafted by America's oldest brewery. Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Just take it.
Alrighty, first one here. UCF coach Scott Frost made some waves with what he said at their media days. I think it was today or yesterday, I'm not sure, but he was asked about what he learned from his time as head coach at Nebraska and said, quote, "Don't take the wrong job." You agree with him. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I certainly agree with him. Don't take the wrong job. I'm curious why he thinks Nebraska was the wrong job. It feels like he should know what Nebraska is.
Yes, he should.
You know? Played them there. Got a trophy there.
Yes. They have high expectations.
They do, and it was never a fertile recruiting ground. It was not a fertile recruiting ground when you were there. It's not a fertile recruiting ground now. So it's a passionate fan base. There is some money there. It's in a difficult league. Like, they haven't had a lot of success in the last 25 years. I don't know what he could have learned there that would have been shocking, other than we don't have any dollars for NIL ever, and we don't. I don't know what he could have been surprised by. I agree with his premise. I think that he probably contributed to the downfall as significantly as the folks at Nebraska did, is my guess.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, look, people are people, and maybe you didn't have as much support to hire staff as you wanted, or maybe you didn't like the athletic director 4 months after. Like, I don't know, but I think that was a bit of a strong thing to say about your alma mater.
All right, next one here. Strawberries and cream at Wimbledon. Take it or leave it.
I've never had it because I've never been to Wimbledon, but I would take it. I like strawberry. I like cream. I like cold. It seems like it would be very good. My guess is that it's overpriced for what it is.
Potentially.
It's just a hunch. But maybe they don't do that.
Maybe it's like Augusta, where they just have everything priced normally.
Maybe in Europe they don't do that like we do here in America, where we gouge everybody for every cent for everything.
I think.
How much could you possibly pay for strawberries, cream, and what is it, shortcake?
Yeah, it can't be a lot.
That's free.
To me, I kind of view Wimbledon similar to the Masters, like in terms of like just the
dress code.
The dress code. They have these rules, you know. They call
gotta wear white.
Yeah, I think they call the fans something specific at Wimbledon too. Or, they say like gentlemen and ladies when they talk about the
draws.
Different draws. Yeah, so I think maybe that the pricing would maybe be okay. We'll have to do some research on that.
I would like to go to the All England Lawn and Tennis Club once in my day. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but I'd like to do it.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. All right, next one, pricey sunglasses. Take it or leave it.
Ooh, we had a bad story about that at the lake this week. Not me. I got out of that game years ago. But we had a pair of pricey sunglasses that took a bite.
You gotta if you're going on water, you gotta have the thing you connect. You gotta have something that keep them floating.
So my cousin had hers clipped to her shirt.
Yeah, you can't do that.
And she leaned over to the lake, and they fell right in.
Yeah.
She watched them fall right in. And like, pricey can mean anything to anybody. To some, a pricey pair of sunglasses is $25. Some it's $50. There's probably $300 sunglasses out there.
Oh, there's even more than that.
I know they're $300. I know they're probably $1,500 sunglasses that, like, folks that are celebrities wear. But I'm out. Like, I can't keep up with them. I can't keep up with them on the golf course. I can't keep up with them in my car. I can't keep up with them if I go on a flight. I can't keep up with them if they fall in the lake. I'm going to the gas station and I'm buying them for $11. That's where I am on sunglasses.
Yeah.
I like pricey sunglasses. If I was guaranteed to keep them, I would get some that were more expensive than the gas station. But I can't keep them, and we know this. It was proven out in college just after that. It's over. I can't do it. We're going with the only thing that I have that I would, for my budget, I would consider fairly pricey, would be this watch that my wife got me for her first anniversary, and somehow I've kept it for 4 years. I don't know how.
Well, I think
it's a miracle.
The watch is a little bit easier than sunglasses.
It is,
I think you don't really take it off very often, except for when you're at home.
I take it off to play golf, which is I left it one time, and it was there in the cart. We got it back, but it's when I got this watch, I went, man, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
It's just setting up for failure because I'm going to lose it, and that's going to be a disaster. I really like it, and I've kept it for a while, so hopefully we can keep that going.
All right, last one real quick. This has been going crazy on social media, but there was video of a couple of golfers that got into it.
Oh, my God.
And
don't even get me started.
Yeah, it was in Canada. Apparently, there was some slow play involved. The groups were at odds with each other. And one of the guys decided he was going to pretty much give an open invitation to the other group to say, if you want to, try to fight me, then go ahead. Not knowing that one of the other men was a former NHL hockey player.
And not only that, an enforcer. Like a guy who was out there to get in fights.
Yes. Knowing your opponent, take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. You don't get an opponent. How about that? How about no opponents?
Yeah.
If you get into here's the deal. I'm not even going to pull, to use a bad pun, not even going to pull any punches. If you get into a fist fight on a golf course, you're an idiot. You are an idiot. You are an idiot.
Yes, I agree.
There is nothing that's going on that golf course that is going to warrant a fist fight. In my opinion, there are very few things on planet Earth that warrant a fist fight. Now, some of you vehemently disagree with that. Somebody's playing slow? Who? That's part of golf. Everyone plays slow. It's public golf. You're out there. Everyone sucks.
Yep.
These guys, I can tell by looking at them, weren't very good, and it's going to be slow. You're out there for 5 hours. People are drunk. Turn on some tunes. Have another beer. Like, a fist fight is just the lowest form of humanity to me. And everyone disagrees with me, and they think that it's great to have somebody that can kick your ass every once in a while. It's like, I got no use for it. Nobody needs to be getting in fights at bars. Nobody needs to be getting in fights on golf courses. Nobody needs to get in fights in Mardi Gras parades. Stop getting in fights. It's stupid.
Man.
Just walk away. Why do you care what people are? And this guy that got into the fight is a clown.
Yes.
This guy he's about to tee off. He's coming off. He's screaming like, woo! I don't care how drunk he is. You're a lunatic. And I just can't deal with it. That's my take on it.
It was bad.
It's just ridiculous. And there are so many people driving around listening to me who think I'm the idiot for that take. Good fist fights, good for everybody. No, it's just put a smile on. Hit some golf shots. It's a happy place out there. If you're at a bar, grab a beer. Don't punch somebody. I've done enough. Matt's next with After Further Review. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place.
The Hunt Palmer Show.